Good afternoon, everybody. I am so deeply honored to be the alumni speaker this year, which would have been Grace's 30th year anniversary. I'm going to start with, I had this discussion yesterday with a couple of alum, and I didn't know this was a charged term, but I'm going to go and ask anyway if anybody here has ever had imposter syndrome. Yeah. Oh, good, because I have had a lot of it at school, in the workplace, my career. As you all know, but after what Rachel announced, I am back in school here, so I feel that imposter syndrome constantly. But what I'm sharing for the first time today is that I actually had imposter syndrome when it came to Grace after her passing. When it came to grieving her and feeling sad, all these emotions that I honestly felt deeply, I felt because I wasn't a close friend of hers that I had no business feeling that way. And I felt a little apart from everybody else that was grieving her. My husband now, for example, who was my friend back then, I felt like I couldn't relate in the same way, but I couldn't understand the sadness that I was feeling. So I did feel imposter syndrome when it came to Grace. Again, she and I were in the same class of 93. We were part of PAA, we participated in the same PCN, we knew a lot of the same friends. Like Rach, I knew from English 1A, I knew Lloyd from the dorms, and Cha from PAA and the dorms, but everybody knew Cha back then, so. So yeah, I just feel like, but I never really knew Grace the way I would have liked to. In fact, there was a memorial service, as an example, at Newman Hall, where we stepped out, me and a few other friends stepped out first, and the Daily Cal was there, shot a picture of us immediately. Next morning, I'm in the cover of the Daily Cal, supposedly one of her very close friends. The guilt I felt was amazing because I thought, who am I to be on the cover of this newspaper? What would Rach must be thinking, like she was her best friend, Cha was her best friend. She should be in the cover of Daily Cal, not me. So there was a lot of guilt there when it came to grieving Grace. But with that said, I always wanted to get to know Grace actually as an undergrad. This is gonna sound really elementary school and high school, but if you've ever gone through school and you see that kid in the court, in the playground, you think that kid's really cool, or they look really neat, and I want to get to know them. I want them to be my friend. That's how I felt about Grace. I admired her from afar. I thought my first impression of her was that she was really pretty, like strikingly pretty, and I thought she's a gorgeous human being. And then I would hear her laughter. I would see her a lot on Sproul Hall with her close friends, and I would wave to her friends because I knew them, but I didn't know Grace really. One really memory that I have of Grace actually is that she was with her friends. So know this about me too back then. I think it was like my once in 6 month trek to RSF because I didn't work out often, and my cousin said, "You're going, you're working out." So here I am at RSF. Grace is there with her friends. I think I waved at Rach, and but here is Grace. Like she was on Stairmasters like a mad woman. I thought, oh my gosh, she's a beast, And I thought, well, maybe in that sense, we may not get along because she obviously loves to work out and I don't, So I thought, but maybe there's other things that we could have in common. In the fall of '91, I happened to be a co-editor-in-chief of Bolita, so that meant that I could be in core, which I guess is the exec board nowadays in PAA, I don't know, but back then it was called core. So I was able to be in core and part of those meetings, and Grace was also in core. And that's when we actually started having conversations. That's when we realized, which was really cool, we tripped out, that our birthdays are only a day apart. Born the same year, I'm October 4 and she's October 5. So that was always a trip, and a special memory for me when we realized that. It was kind of like, whoa, we're born a day apart, cool. And then I also was we had the Secret Santa thing in core. So where you have a secret buddy who gives you nice notes and everything. You don't know who they are, but they give you notes and they give you a gift for Christmas in the end. So my buddy was Grace. And she would write notes and I didn't know who it was because it was supposed to be incognito. When the reveal finally happened, I found out it was Grace, and she gave me a gift that was this hanging spiral wind chime type thing, which I hung in my kitchen, in my apartment. So when she passed, actually, this is an interesting story where I kind of felt her presence, and again, confused by it because we didn't know each other well. Part of the Filipino culture, there's a lot of superstition, right? You believe in ghosts, aswams, all kinds of stuff, right? But at the same time, people were afraid too, just because at the time we didn't know who the murderer was. And so we had the police and authorities questioning within our own community, which added confusion and fear for one another. And thank God we surpassed that when all of that was over. But what we would do is a lot of them, again, I don't know if I just didn't have a lot of friends or if I had a different friend group, but everybody would sleep in different places in groups like sardines, right? Roman, who was my friend back then, knew that I was going to be alone one weekend, and he says, "You want to sleep over? We're going to be in a bunch of group," and I said, "No, I'm okay." I wasn't scared or anything. And that night, in the middle of the night, I had to get a glass of water, and so I went to the kitchen and I got a glass of water, but I noticed that Grace's spiral wind chime that she gave me was spinning consistently. Not crazy like in The Exorcist type thing, but just, slowly, very, very purposefully spinning. And I thought, there's no window open, we have no AC. I really believe her presence was there. So, so again, there was just a lot of confusion and sadness, a lot that I didn't understand how to process. So we graduated, Roman and I, and then, for many years, I feel like even though we were very close to our Cal friends, really close, some of them are godparents to our children, and we've stayed connected. But we never come back to the Cal space, here, involved with the Alumni Association. We just kind of disappeared for a while. But with that said, we never forgot Grace, especially Roman. We would always mention Grace to our girls all the time, just because we wanted them to know her, especially Roman. And I think, sadly, part of it was the fear part. We wanted them to be able to defend themselves. And so they were in hardcore competitive judo, so they understood fighting combat. They even dabbled in a little bit of Muay Thai and have done, they were just really into the self-defense. And that was just us. And we used Grace as an example. We just wanted to make sure that they had a fighting chance if they were ever attacked. And so they definitely knew her name in our household growing up. We didn't just talk about that, but that was one of the reasons why we impressed self-defense to them. So 25 years later, I come back for my 25-year reunion. And I'm ashamed to say it was the first GRA celebration of life that I've ever been to, 25 years later. I mean, how long has this been going on? And I was just humbled and inspired. And why? It's because of, the students, PAA of this generation, of today, just to see them celebrate and do so much towards the scholarship and create this event every year. And here I was thinking, oh, I have no business to try and grieve, or, who am I? I'm a fraud. They've never even met Grace, but here they are doing what they do. And that was utterly inspiring for me. And so Roman didn't go to that event with me, but 2 years later for during the pandemic on Zoom, he was asked to speak, where I'm here now, on Zoom for the alumni speaker. And it was really healing for him, actually, to be able to talk about his experience, because a lot of that he buried. I was there and I saw the confusion and pain that he was in, but I think a lot of us kind of buried it just because it was traumatic. And so during that time, Cha was looking to step down from a very successful 10-year run as PAC president. And Roman was asked to take her place, which of course he felt like, oh my gosh, how am I gonna fill those shoes? But he did feel it was because of Grace that was, a calling that he wanted to fulfill. And so he took it on, and plus he had a board that was willing to come in and help him to make sure that the organization thrived. And I'm sure many of you know, my daughter Cali attends here, but this is before Cali was even accepted. So it wasn't Cali that brought us back to Cal, it was Grace, so that was also telling. So I think of the signs from Grace, right? Leading Roman to be in PAC and being involved that way. Another thing is Cali, getting into Cal, deciding to go to Cal, and then she was the GRA coordinator last year. And then now you have Gabby, who got into Cal, decided to go to Cal, and she's doing this. I mean, you just can't, you almost can't even write about this, and I really feel that Grace put all of this into place. And so this year's theme, before I go there's one more sign. And I wanted to mention too with Callie and Gabby, I'm so proud of them actually for feeling such a connection to Grace and the community that she loved so much. But I also wanted to share that one time, I hope Callie doesn't mind me sharing this story. Callie and Gabby's walking her back to her apartment, and she tells Callie, you live here? And Callie says, yeah, and so Gabby says, you know where this is, right? And she said, what? This is where my mom and Grace used to live. So that was like goosebumps, I just, again, you can't write about this. You really feel her presence that way. So this year's theme is giving grace, but really Grace gave herself to me in these beautiful signs that she showed me of her presence, and in the time span and the pace that she did it. I mean, this is 30 years of growth and evolving. And that is patience and love. When you allow someone to take the time that they need to grow at the pace that they need to grow, whatever that timing is, it's really patience and love. This is kind of a symbol of what I see Grace to be. We didn't seek to be part of this. I didn't even believe that I should be part of this, but somehow she has intertwined my family to be involved and to come back to the community that she cared so deeply about. I no longer have imposter syndrome when it comes to Grace. I no longer ask, who am I to partake in this? I embrace it, because who am I not to? The signs that I felt from Grace since her passing, to me, is almost like her saying, you know what? I wanted to be your friend too. And I wanted to get to know you. And I have over the years, whether I've been here physically or not. So today I leave you with 3 things. If you want to get to know someone, don't wait. Don't wait for the perfect time. Don't watch from afar. The time is now. I think, what if I what if I didn't stop and say, oh, hey, Rach, how's it going? What if I actually went next to Rach and said, hey, Grace, I'm Charlene. Actually, I was Simon back then. I'm Simon. Hey, can you give me some tips on how you can stay motivated and working out because it's really hard for me? I mean, something, right? I mean, I am an introvert, but please don't wait. You want to get to know someone. You never know who they might be to you in the future. You may not know how they will enrich your lives, and you may not know what you would be to them. So take advantage of the moment. And 2, if you want to be part of something, jump in. Don't wait for the perfect time. Just don't watch from afar, and the time is now. 3, growth, love, and learning never stops. I just turned 52 on Wednesday. And I am back in school. I'm doing an MBA here at Cal. I'm making new friends, reconnecting with old friends, changing the course of my life because I gave myself the grace to grow at my own pace. Whether you're 18, 25, 30, 50, or 70, jump in and do whatever it is that you've been wanting to do. Again, it is my deep honor to speak on what would have been Grace's 30th reunion. When I think of Grace now, it is honestly less about how she died, but how she impacted 30 years of community and love. She has been a gift of healing and love for me, and I hope she is that to all of you here. Thank you so much.